Hello everyone, welcome back. In this tutorial we're going to learn how to read and write files in Go programming language. So we will create a simple program that will be able to read and write files. So open up your code editor. I have opened up a Visual Studio Code editor, and as always I have created this tutorial folder inside of my desktop. Then I have opened it up inside of my VS Code. So before we get started, we have to create our module. So let's open up the terminal and type in this command: go mod init file read write, like this. Then hit enter and close our terminal. Then let's create our main.go file next to our go mod and create our package main. Then we will have basically two separate functions for reading and writing files. So first one, write file, and then I will accept here a list of lines. So lines are going to be a slice of string. So I will write all those slice of strings to my file. Then secondly, I wanna create this function which will be able to read the file for me, and it is going to return a string, read the result of the file. So just for that error to be gone, let's return here an empty string. So Go will not complain us about that. So let's create our main function here and just print line a simple welcoming message. So let's say here, welcome to file reader / writer, exclamation mark, and let's go and implement our write file first of all. Here we have to open up our file. So for that I want to say file and error equals to os.create. I'm using this create function instead of this open function because if this file does not exist, I want to create that, and if that file exists, I want to overwrite its content. So if this file exists in my current working directory, the current content of it is going to be cleared, totally truncated. That's why I'm using this create function. Also, I want to create this file name constant up here, which is going to be data.txt, because I will be using this constant, this data.txt, 2 times in my program. That's why it is beneficial for us to create it as a constant. So let's specify this file name here. Then if error does not equal to nil, it means that we could not open that file. So let's say here log.fatal.ln error creating file, something like this. This fatal is gonna display that message to the screen and immediately exit the program. So we are saying here fatal.ln, which stands for fatal new line, just like print and println. If we were able to open that file correctly without any issues, we want to write all those lines to this file by their order. So let's iterate over them. So for index and line equals to range lines, I want to say here underscore error equals to file.write string. Then I want to say my line and plus this new line character at the end, but also this needs to be lines, not line. So here I'm attempting to write this single line to my file, and I'm specifying this new line character at the end of the line because I want to move my cursor to the next line. If I were not to specify this new line character, all my lines will be like stacked on a single line, which would look very awful. So that's why I'm providing that new line character at the end. So if this error does not equal to nil, it means that I wasn't able to write that line to our file successfully. So let's fatal.ln here as well. Error writing file ... And at the end I don't want to do anything because when I exit this loop, I will be done writing all my lines to my file. So that should be good to go. And here in my read file, I want to say content, and error will be my os read file and file name. This read file is gonna read the entire file for me, this entire file that I provide to it. So the content will be the whole content of that file. And if my error does not equal to nil here, it means that I wasn't able to read the content of that file successfully. So I need to say log fatal.ln error reading file. dot dot dot. Then let's return the string version of my content. So string and content. I need to turn that content to string because this content is by default a slice of bytes. So I have to just use this string function to easily turn that into a string. So yeah, I'm done with those two functions. Now I have to implement this main function to be able to check, to be able to test if those two functions are gonna work fine without any issues. So what I'm going to do here is to read the initial content of my file before I write anything to it. So let's say initial content equals to read file, and then fmt print line initial content. Initial content is gonna be this initial content. So yeah, after that I want to say print ln those dashes to be able to separate different sections of my program. Then here I will write data to file. Here I am reading initial data. In write data, I want to basically get the user's input in multiple lines. For that, I have to use something called buff.io. The default FMT scanline would not work here because scanline takes a user input on a single line. So that's why we have to utilize as a functionality. So let's prompt the user for entering multiple lines of text. So enter a text to write to a file. Then scanner will be equal to buff.io.new scanner. Then os std in. Then I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna create this all lines slice of string. So string here, string. Then I'm gonna iterate, no, not iterate, but continue this loop infinitely while my scanner scanned successfully. So scanner.scan. I'm gonna extract my line from my scanner. So line is gonna be equal to scanner.text, right? Text. Then if strings.trim space my line equals to an empty string, and the length of my all lines is greater than 0. I wanna say break, which means that if I do not enter anything on a new line and I already have entered some kind of line, some kind of text, then I want to break this loop, which basically going to stop asking me for a text to enter me. So then after that, I'm gonna say all lines equals to append all lines. Then my line here that I have extracted right here. Then after the loop, I have to check if some kind of error occurred during this scanning process. So for that, I have to say if error equals to scanner.error and error does not equal to nil. I want to say fmt print line error reading input ... Then just return here. After that, I have to write those lines that I took from the user to my file. So for that, let's say here write file and pass my all lines, which is going to basically write all those lines in my file. After that, I want to read the data of the content of my file once again. So let's say here reading afterwards data. So fmt print. Now let's copy that from up above. So I don't have to type that same line of code one more time. So end content here is going to be equal to read file. Then fmt print line end content like so. Then fmt print line and content like so. So yeah, code should be working fine. So let's try to test it out by running it. So let's open up the terminal and say go run dot. And we received this kind of error because here we first of all try to read the data of the file, because this resulted in an error because we don't have that data.txt file right now. So let's create the data.txt file and try to run our program one more time. So hopefully it should work fine without any kind of crashes. So let's try to run it, and it asks me to write the content of the text. The initial content of the file is blank because I don't have anything in my file yet. So let's type in some kind of content. So this is going to be awesome project. And let's hit enter, and it is not going to stop asking me because I'm using BuffEO instead of Scanline. So let's specify some kind of text as well. Go programming language is cool. I love Go. I am learning file input output. Then let's hit enter and enter one more time. Here now we successfully wrote that those lines of code, those lines of text, not code, to our file. And when we at the end try to read the file's content one more time, we successfully get those lines of text that we just wrote here. So let's check out our data.txt, and indeed we wrote all those lines of text correctly in our data.txt file. Oh yeah, that's good to go. Now let's try to run this one more time, and the initial data of the file should be set to that data that we wrote. So let's try to run it, and indeed we get that initial content as a correct text that we expected. So let's provide some kind of very short text, short content of the file. So let's say here just hello world. Just my imagination is so poor, so let's hit enter and enter one more time. End content is now set to hello world. So let's check out our file, and we only have here hello world text being held. Alright, that is it for this tutorial. In this tutorial we learned how to read and to write file in Golang. So if you liked this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Also, the link to this GitHub repository of this simple project is gonna be in the comment section down below, so you can grab that code and experiment it on your own.